Tiny Township activist Karen Zulynik returned to council chambers this week for the first time in 5 months, after an Ontario Superior Court justice lifted a trespass notice that had barred her from all municipal property since Remembrance Day.
The Township's lawyer had a server come to my door, knock on my door, and serve me a trespass notice. The allegations towards me were that I harassed staff, I threatened staff, and I damaged personal and public property. I didn't do any of those things. But I wasn't able to go to the skating rink, and I wasn't able to go to the winter carnival. And lots of times when I was out in the public, people go, Karen, is that true? You were threatening and harassing staff? So I was always on the defense, and it gave me a lot of stress, and I had a lot of sleepless nights. I think that was the worst part of it, is proving to people that I'm here to help people, and I'm all about fiscal responsibility. And I'm not out here to harass or threaten anybody. So today is day one coming back. I feel positive and I feel empowered. I can see there's people here typically in the galley. Basically what happened is the judge just came straight out and asked Barristan Law, is there any proof that Karen Zulynik threatened or harassed staff or damaged personal property? And there was kind of dead silence in the courtroom. And then he said no. The two people that made the allegations and the public statements against me were Robert Lamb, the CAO, and Mayor Evans, but neither of them submitted an affidavit in court.
On the day she returned, Council was voting on a new election sign bylaw that would have capped every candidate at 300 signs across a township of more than 9,000 dwellings. Residents packed the gallery, arguing that the cap would entrench incumbents and infringe the charter right to freedom of expression.
Each voter has the right under the Charter of Rights and Freedoms to place any number of election signs on his or her property. Please refer to the case of Charles Frederick Armstrong versus the Township of Russell, 2025, and it's the Ontario Supreme Court, case number 3790. The court held that the bylaw infringed on Mr. Armstrong's freedom of expression under Section 2B of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms.
30 seconds, please.
We just came through a period where the Superior Court had to remind this municipality that the Charter of Right to Freedom is not optional. It's a fundamental pillar to our society.
Stick to the topic, please.
That is not protected, not managed or suppressed. I urge council to respect the spirit of that ruling and the 300 cap sign of banning public land. I'm going to finish right now.
Ms. Zulynik, if you don't stop now, I'm going to ask you to leave.
The document is entitled Top 10 Reasons Why Council Should Approve the Proposed Election Sign Bylaw with Rationale, with a subtitle that says How to Stack the Deck While Claiming to Level the Playing Field. Number 9, it allows council to redouble its efforts to restrict freedom of expression despite its recent court loss regarding the Citizen Code of Conduct. 7, it will attract expensive litigation that will allow council to once again send additional gobs of money to its favorite law firm. 5, it's defensible. The staff report provides cover under the guise of helping young people, protecting the environment, and reducing clutter. And if the public doesn't fall for that explanation, you can always just say, what about Hillary's emails? 4, you can't fool all of the people all of the time, but you can fool most of the people most of the time. This just might work. It will distract people from searching for your name in the Epstein files. Finally, number 1, running over everyone's freedom of expression is about as easy as running over someone's foot. And as you know, there will be no immediate consequences. Thank you.
After public deputations and council debate, Councillor Dave Brunel moved a package of amendments. The bylaw that passed unanimously was substantially different from what residents had come to oppose. The 300 sign cap now applies only to road allowances and public property. Private property has no limit and no height restriction. Each property gets 1 sign per candidate per road frontage. Signs on road allowances must sit at least 1 meter from the roadway edge and are banned adjacent to parks. Signs can go up starting nomination day, August 21st. Following is our interview with Karen Zulynik and coverage of the meeting.
I have never missed a meeting since December of 2023. And on Remembrance Day, while I was watching on the 11th hour, the Remembrance Day ceremonies, the Township's lawyer had a server come to my door, knock on my door, and serve me a trespass notice. The allegations towards me were that I harassed staff, I threatened staff, and I damaged personal and public property. I didn't do any of those things, and we ended up in Superior Court, and the hearing, I won the hearing. The judge was pretty strict about her ruling, but I wasn't able to go to the skating rink, and I wasn't able to go to the Winter Carnival, and lots of times when I was out in the public, people go, you know, Karen, is that true? You were threatening and harassing staff? So I was always on the defense, and it gave me a lot of stress, and I had a lot of sleepless nights. I think that was the worst part of it, is proving to people that I'm here to help people, and I'm all about fiscal responsibility. And I'm not out here to harass or threaten anybody. So today is day one coming back. I feel positive and I feel empowered. I can see there's people here typically in the galley. The way it works is usually somebody from Midland Today is here and myself, so it's pretty empty. So this is a show of support that I'm not a lone wolf. I think a lot of people are questioning the fiscal accountability of our current council. I don't know if I'm going to go forward and go after the Citizens Code of Conduct. Our lawyers and their lawyers are in talks. Basically what happened is the judge just came straight out and asked Barristan Law, you know, is there any proof that Karen Zulynik threatened or harassed staff or damaged personal property? And there was kind of dead silence in the courtroom, and then he said no. And so she kind of questioned why we were there, and then she said she would rule over the Easter weekend, and she came back on April 10th.
How many months was the gap since you got the notice, the trespass, and then the ruling?
Yeah, 5 months. 5 months. So they wanted to ban me till June 1st, which would have been, they're allowed to run an election on May 1st. It's been lifted. It's not squashed. We'd have to go to the trial and everything. But I want to make note that the two people that made the allegations and the public statements against me were Robert Lamb, the CAO, and Mayor Evans. But neither of them submitted an affidavit in court. They had the lovely Haley Blonde, our Director of Finance, and Deputy CAO select do an affidavit, but she was not there as a witness. She had already left the premises. The groundsbreaking ceremony was over, so it was all hearsay. And today is a big day because they want to make an election bylaw. We have 9,700 dwellings in Tiny, and they want to limit the number of signs you can stake on private property to 300. So, you know, it's silencing people's voice. It's a charter right. So here we are again. So we'll see what happens when they vote today. Well, they're saying that it's clutter, but there was crickets when it was the federal and recent provincial election. The last election, and Councillor Wama was a deputy mayor, and he was running for councillor in 2022. He plastered 4 feet by 8 foot plywood signs with spray paint all throughout the township. But now, you know, no, they're even going to say that you can't even put a sign on public property. You know, and then we have the Y Bridge, Y-Vale Spaghetti Church dinners. They put signs on public property. You know, the Festival de Loop and La Fontaine, they put, you know, I think they're going to ban all that. I really don't know. And, you know, realtor signs. So we'll see how it plays out. This is the status quo, you know. You got your incumbents, their names are known, they're in the media, they're out there in public events. So any newcomers that are here, their voices aren't known. So it's very, very unfair. And I'm here for the rights of the people under the Charter of Freedom of Expression. And I will always stand for that, for people to be able to speak out and have their say. I've just gone over the budget book and compared it with the December numbers, and it's up $2.5 million. Building permits are down. Other sources of our financing comes from debt, from borrowing money. So we're basically running the township and building projects and doing capital projects by borrowing money. Our reserves are shrunk down to $4 million. With our tax revenue at $19 million, we should have 50% of that in reserves. We should have $10 million in reserves, and this council's just depleted the reserves. I think those are the real important things. We have to make sure taxes don't keep escalating. You know, we got a lot of people that are on fixed income, and they just can't afford these tax hikes. It's got to stop.
And what about the admin building? How much it's done and how much?
Well, they poured the foundation. They're going to start doing vertical walls. We didn't stop it, but Johnny Hawk, he's a First Nations. He put in a motion, an application to the federal Attorney General and the provincial Attorney General to pause it because they want notice of that, you know, it's their lands and whatnot, and make sure that the Ice Age grass isn't damaged because they have plans to make parks and walkways through there. And so that might pause the building, and if it gets paused, as a community, we're gonna decide what to do forward, like with town halls. It won't be my decision or, you know, somebody else's say. We have to do it as a community. Lots of town halls. Going forward, that's what it's going to take to to make sure we save Tiny.
Okay, moving on. We're now in our public comment period. We've got 15 minutes, 5 sessions for anybody in the crowd that would like to come up and speak on an item that's on the current regular meeting agenda. Speaking moments are, please feel free, man. Come on up. We got a tight agenda today, so unfortunately I won't be doing my usual indulgement, but so I'll try and keep it to 3 minutes if we could. So. Hi, Jesse. How you doing?
I'm fine.
Good. If you just push the button on your microphone there.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks.
Thanks. Okay. Can you hear me? Yes. All right. Okay. My name is Jessie Garland. I live at 50 Nicole Boulevard in Tiny. And my comment this afternoon is regarding the proposed election sign bylaw. So I have some concerns regarding certain sections of the bylaw. So Section 6, placement and locations restrictions, no candidate shall erect more than 300 signs at any one time. This means that for the 2026 election, the number of signs in the township is limited by the number of candidates, not the number of registered voters. Had this bylaw applied during the 2022 election, then under the proposed election sign bylaw, 4,500 signs would have been permitted. As there were 15 candidates, that's 4,500. So, but there are 19,162 voters in 2022. So if only 4,500 signs had been permitted, then only 23% of the registered voters would have been permitted to erect an election sign. For the 2026 election, there must be at least 63 candidates to enable all the voters to have at least one sign. In a municipality the size of Tiny, this is probably not realistic. However, it also means that if one candidate is more popular than another, then she cannot erect more than 300 signs. Then that candidate must inform the 301st person who requests the sign that he or she cannot have a sign because only 300 persons on any given day are permitted to erect a sign. This person must wait until an existing sign holder relinquishes his or her sign, and then the candidate may move the sign to another private property. As a result of this clause in the bylaw, every candidate is required to deny freedom of expression to any number of voters in the township. This is unconstitutional. A candidate is an individual citizen and as such cannot deny freedom of expression to another individual. I do not see how the township can legally require that one voter deny the right to freedom of expression to another voter. Each voter has the right under the Charter of Rights and Freedoms to place any number of election signs on his or her property. For example, if one household has 4 voters, then each voter in that household is entitled to at least one sign for every available position, so 20 signs. Please refer to the case of Charles Frederick Armstrong versus the Township of Russell, 2025, and it's the Ontario Supreme Court, case number 3790. The court held that the bylaw infringed on Mr. Armstrong's freedom of expression under Section 2B of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms.
30 seconds, please.
Okay. And then my other issue was with respect to the signs, the size and the definition of election sign, is that, again, there are no definitions in the Municipal Act, and therefore I don't think that, to comply with what's in the Municipal Act, that those clauses should be there. And the same with the painted rocks and surfaces, that's all private property, and those clauses should be deleted. And
okay, ma'am.
That's it.
Great. Thanks, Jesse. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Council, any questions, comments?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry?
I didn't think there were any questions. Okay.
Just in case, you never know. You never know.
All righty.
Sometimes.
Okay, any questions?
Sorry, may just sit down for nothing. Maybe next time.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Next person, please come on up. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Mayor and members of council.
Wonder if you just state your name and your topic, please, sir.
I want to focus on what this proposed sign bylaw actually does during an election.
Okay.
On the surface, it's about signage.
Sorry, your name, sir.
I'm sorry?
Your name?
Bob Ord.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ord. Appreciate that.
In reality, it directly affects political communication. Election signs are a recognized form of expression under the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. That matters because while municipalities can regulate signs, they cannot do so in a way that removes meaningful visibility. And that's the concern here. If you restrict signs from road allowances where people actually see them, limit the time they can be displayed, and cap the number at 300, the practical effect is simple. You reduce candidates' ability to reach the public. And that does not affect everyone equally. Shorter timelines, tighter placement rules, and a fixed cap tend to favor candidates who already have name recognition. New candidates do not. For many first-time candidates, election signs are the only affordable way to become visible in the community. In a township as large and spread out as Tiny, a limit of 300 signs is not just a number, it's a constraint on basic visibility, and in practical terms, it may prevent candidates from reaching entire parts of the community. There's also an added reality that needs to be considered. A significant portion of the population is seasonal. Many residents are here in July and August, but not necessarily in late September or October. Limiting signage to the later period means a large segment of the community is effectively missed. I would ask Council to consider enforcement. Who enforces this? How consistently? And what happens when enforcement is complaint-driven? Because in practice that can lead to uneven or selective enforcement, whether intended or not, and that's where public trust begins to erode. This isn't just about keeping things tidy, it's about access to communication during an election across the full community, including seasonal residents. If the restrictions go too far, they introduce a real question as to whether the bylaw would withstand scrutiny under the Charter. I'm not suggesting this leads to litigation, but it does introduce avoidable risk. So I would respectively suggest that Council reconsider the placement restrictions, the timing window, and the sign cap to ensure that all candidates have a fair opportunity to be seen, not just by permanent residents, but by the broader community that participates in Tiny life. This is one of those decisions that may seem administrative, but has real democratic consequences. I would ask Council to proceed with caution.
Thank you, sir. You're in perfect timing. Council, any questions, comments? Thank you, Mr. Ord. Appreciate that. Here we go. Next speaker.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council and senior staff. I'm going to be talking about the election sign and how we need a level playing field for Tiny Township.
Sorry, your name and your, please, just for everybody to know.
I'm Karen Zulynik.
Okay, thank you.
To start off, it's a significant moment for me to stand again in this chamber. Thank you. Today, as we discuss the proposed changes to the election bylaw, we must remember that these rules are not an administrative hurdle, but they are guardrails of our local democracy. I am pleased to see Council has reconsidered the 45-day limit. I see the proposal is in the agenda today is to allow signs from nomination day, which is August 21st, through to the election. I strongly suggest August 1st, as that's the height of the township's residency. I want to address two remaining restrictions that jeopardize the fairness of our democratic process and erode the level playing field essential for true presentation. First, let's look at the proposed 300 limit. In Tiny Township, we have roughly 9,700 dwellings. If a candidate is capped at 300 signs, that means only 3.09% of households in our community are permitted to visually show support for their chosen candidate. leaving 97% not allowable. In a township as geographically vast as ours, signs are the primary way we spark the kitchen table conversations. By imposing a 300 cap, you are essentially telling 97% of the households in Tiny that their right to participate in this visual, democratic tradition is simply clutter. Why would we want to suppress engagement? This limit doesn't protect the township. It protects the status quo. Second, the proposal to ban signs on public property is a clear overreach. We must look into the legal precedent, as Jesse mentioned earlier, Armstrong versus the town of Russell. The courts made it very clear. While a municipality has the right to regulate signs for legitimate safety concerns, it's unreasonable to impose restrictions that impede political speech. I noticed in Committee of the Whole there's going to be some talk about real estate signs and, you know, the Wayvale spaghetti signs and community events, so we'll deal with that.
30 seconds, please.
Public property belongs to the people. Banning signs on public property land primarily targets new candidates who rely on busy roads to build name recognition. Using these spaces for a short time to support our democracy is the highest and the best use of this land. Conclusion. We just came through a period where the Superior Court had to remind this municipality that the Charter of Right to Freedom is not optional. It's a fundamental pillar to our society.
Stick to the topic, please.
That is not protected, not managed or suppressed. I urge council to respect the spirit of that ruling at the 300 cap sign of banning public land. I'm going to finish right now.
Ms. Zulynik, if you don't stop now, I'm going to ask you to leave. The rules are 3 minutes. If you don't respect this house, I'm going to ask you to leave too.
The April 1st council meeting and you let people speak for 6 minutes.
I did, didn't I? There's people here that did speak. I'm sorry, we've got a lot of, I mentioned it right from the beginning. Ma'am? Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Stephanie DeFrancesca, and I'm a resident of Tiny Township. I stand before you today in absolute opposition to this proposed bylaw, and I won't get into the details that others have gotten into. I'm going to keep it simple. Let's stop pretending this is about signage. It isn't. This is about control over what residents say, how they say it, and whether they are even allowed to visibly support a political candidate on their property or public property. That should concern every single person in this community. And it's being proposed by the very people elected to represent us. You have heard the legal arguments, you have heard the concerns, and today, once again, you are hearing from your constituents loudly and clearly that we do not want this. The question is not whether you've been informed, the question is whether you are willing to listen. Because the reality is, there is a growing pattern here. Time and time again, the voices of Tiny Township residents have been dismissed. The administration building, the shoreline bylaw, community events, repeated calls for transparency and engagement. Residents speak, and the majority of this council proceeds anyways. So let me be clear, people are noticing and people will remember. This is one of those moments where your actions will define you. You can push this through, ignore the will of your constituents, and further erode public trust. Or you can do your job, represent the people who put you here, and stop this overreach. Reject this bylaw, respect your residents, and uphold the fundamental freedoms you were elected to protect, not restrict. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Ms. DeFrancesca. Okay. Final speaker for today, There'll be another comment period in the committee of the whole meeting to deal with topics covered in that meeting. So. Councillor, good to see you again.
Likewise, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I brought my timer this time, so I won't run over, but thank you for your previous indulgence.
The floor is yours.
Council, thank you. Rob Panasiuk speaking to the election sign bylaw matter. I have here a sealed envelope. I can't speak as to how I've come to possess it, nor can I speak as to the authenticity of its contents. I'm told it contains important information related to the proposed election sign bylaw. It's addressed to certain members of council, aka the Beach Boys. Confidential, eyes only, destroy after reading. Perhaps some of you are aware of its contents. Let's have a look. Let the record show that it's a single piece of paper with text typing on both sides.
Councillor Bernal.
Yes, great. As you see, there's quite a bit of opposition to this sign bylaw. So I corresponded with the clerk, and I would like to propose some amendments to the bylaw. One of the reasons why is because the last time we spoke about this on April 1st, Councilor Woma, I'm going to address the 300 sign limit. Referred to the Township of ESSA bylaw 2022-20 and said that they had a maximum of 150 signs, period. And so I just want to read that section of the bylaw that reads, the number of municipal election signs that may be erected on public property, not on private property, but on public property, are limited to a maximum of 150 election signs on public property for mayor and deputy mayor, and for the councillors, it's 50 election signs on public property. So we were under the assumption, on the understanding that it was going to be 300. They had 150 on for the whole township. The township of Tiny is double the size. That's why it was suggested to have a limit of 300. So it's either we have 300 on public property, but our bylaw reads that no signs on public property. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to read a motion to amend the proposed election sign bylaw, that this report be received, and that proposed bylaw 26-019 be amended to add the following definitions. I've actually this will be my 5th campaign in 5 years, and so when putting up signs, there was a lot of confusion because a lot of municipalities didn't really have an election sign bylaw. So I'm in favor of an election sign bylaw to make it very clear where the signs can go and where the signs cannot. And so that's the main reason why I'm asking for an amendment and not to repeal it, or not to have a bylaw at all. You can't repeal something that's not there yet. Sorry. So the following definitions. So nomination day, which is a little confusing to some. So I did a lot of research about this one and finally got it from the Municipal Elections Act of 1996, I think it is. Nomination day for a regular election is the 3rd Friday in August in the year of the election. Very nice and clear about when the nomination day is. Second, road allowance means that portion of land allowed for a road or highway established by any statute, act, bylaw, or plan. Number 3, roadway means a part of the street that is improved, designed, or ordinarily used for vehicular traffic and includes a shoulder. And street means a highway, road allowance, street, avenue, parkway, driveway, lane, square, place, bridge, viaduct, trestle, and other public way under the jurisdiction of Township County. And this term includes all roadworks and appurtenant to municipal land. And that proposes bylaw 26-019 be amended to add the following additions. So for section 5.2.2, that it reads exceed of a height of 1.5 meters or 5 feet when measured from grade to the highest point of the election sign. What I'd like to add is with the exception being a sign that is located on private property. Number 5.2.3, be painted on surfaces such as roads, sidewalks, such as rocks, sidewalks, roads, buildings, and other infrastructure. And again, add with the exception being a sign that is located on private property. I think it's a bit of an overreach when a bylaw states that what you can't do on your private property, you can't put a sign higher than 6 feet, or you can't put something on your building, on your house. I think it's an overreach. So I'd like to add those two exceptions in there, and also add under 6.3. For road, let me just go to here. On 6.3, I want a removal of and road allowances. So no person shall erect an election sign on public property, including but not limited to parks, roadways, municipal buildings, or facilities. Currently it says and road allowances. I would like to remove road allowances and add this to the bylaw. Under road allowances, no person shall erect, cause, or permit to be erected an election sign on the road allowance if the sign of any portion thereof is 1, on or over the street or sidewalk, 2, closer than 1 meter to the edge of the roadway. So the roadway includes the shoulder, so 1 meter away from the shoulder on the public on the road allowance. The other things are pretty straightforward. Also said no person shall at any time nail or otherwise attach an election sign or cause an election sign to be nailed or otherwise attached to or upon anything located on the road allowance, and this shall include utility pole, light pole, utility box, tree, planter, bench, waste receptacle, newspaper box, or mailbox. So those are the and then also remove at 6.1, no candidate shall erect more than 300 election signs at any one time to eliminate that maximum, because we're on the pretense that ESSA had a 150, but it was 150 on public property, not total.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Brunel. Councillor Brunel. No, I'm going to speak first. First of all, do you have a copy of the motion? You've got a lot of things in there, which is great. So I wonder if, well, just for all of us to be able to, I don't know if there's, in counting, we can put it up so you can see it, but I just want everybody to, make sure they've got a copy of this. It's the first time we've seen it, so we want to be able to, and given the time constraint and we're in the regular meeting, we have to decide on this today. So.
If I may make a comment about that, what you just said, is that possible?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, the time constraint. We all knew that the election was going to be coming up. I'm not quite sure why you waited till the last minute to do this. So I don't feel that there should be a time constraint. I think we should do the right thing, and regardless of the deadline or we got to get this going by today. We all knew that the election was coming. So that, I don't like being under pressure this way when we could have done this 2-3 months ago.
Well, that boat sailed a long time ago, so we are where we are right now, and this is what we can do. So we're going to look at your motion. First of all, we're going to see if there's a seconder for the amendment. Is there a seconder, Councillor?
Well, I have a question first.
Sure, okay, you have a question?
I have a question for Councillor Brunel. So, correct me if I'm wrong. So what you're proposing is that if I own private property on a corner of a road, that I could put up a sign up to 6 feet high from the highest of the grade? Would that not constitute an obstruction possibly for for any vehicles, pedestrians, children, especially bus stops. That's my big concern on that one. Thank you.
Councillor Bernal?
Thank you. There's quite a few stipulations on the proposed election sign bylaw that talks about the limit of where you can put your sign on the corner lot. It's got to be on a slight triangle. It can't be in a slight triangle, so which is very forgiving. So it won't be obstructing the view for that. Now it's got to be 1 meter away from the shoulder. So it should be plenty of room again for non-obstruction. Now, what people do on the private property, I just propose that the height restriction does not include private property. If we want, I'm making this proposal. If there's any amendments to the amendment, or the proposed amendments, we can do that. That's what we're here to discuss.
Seconder for the amendment.
Your Worship.
Are you seconding, Councillor Wong?
So I have some friendly amendments to what Councillor Brunel has proposed.
Okay.
Instead of voting on it right away, can we have a little bit more discussion?
No, but we're not voting on it right away. We're just getting a seconder so we can have discussion on this.
I'll second the motion.
You'll second it, right? Okay, we're good. It's a procedural, I know, but and then the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you very much, Your Worship, through you. So I did have lots of conversation with several residents after our last Committee of the Whole meeting. I would like to correct Councillor Brunel's comments where he said I verbatim said that there was 150, period. It may have been, I guess, perceived that way. And honestly, you're right. I did not know that specific piece, so I appreciate you correcting me publicly. Thank you. I do think that the roadway allowances are a good use of public property for that. What I would like is that we have the caveat in there about banning from public properties like parks, the admin building, etc. I would actually like that the sign portion be exclude, like the road allowances that Councillor Brunel has proposed in his amendment, be allowed as he's proposed with the exclusion of adjacent roadways to parks. That was one. The other one is I do not like the change for, I think it should be standardized, the sign heights, the sign size, whether it's on public or private property. I agree there should not be a restriction on private property. I think people can put their signs up. That is fine. But I would like to see a limit on the number of signs per property, meaning you can only, if you have 2 roadways, for instance, if you're on a corner, you can have a sign on one roadway, one on the other roadway. If you're just a lot in the middle and you only have one road access point, you have one sign, and that would obviously be per candidate that you're supporting. Other than that, Your Worship, I'm happy with the amendments. I like keeping the limit in place for public property. When I brought this up, and just to Councillor Brunel's point that we were doing this at the late hour, Council actually brought this forward in April of 2025. It's unfortunate that things take that much time, but I would say that we were doing our due diligence and lead time to make sure that there was adequate time for the public and candidates to make comments. It came up at a Committee of the Whole, and then the last minute is when everybody jumps into the fray. With that, Your Worship, I'll listen into the rest of the comments. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Councillor Wama. So, Councillor Bernal, you've got 2 friendly amendments there to consider.
So one is the sign height, sign restriction, the size of the sign. I agree with it. I didn't amend that, but the height of the sign on someone's private property should not be restricted to 5 feet. If they want to put 6 feet, 7 feet, I think it should be to the private property owner's prerogative. So that's the one thing that I would not agree with. But in the bylaw that currently sits, proposed bylaw, there is a sign restriction size. So, but the height, I'm not going, I would like to keep that there, but again, for the discussion with the other council members.
Roadways adjacent to parks.
I believe that's already in the proposed bylaw, but I'd have to check, see. But yeah, for sure, like if it's already in the bylaw, then the proposed bylaw, then if it's already there, and if not, then yeah, that would be fine.
You'd be okay with that, Madam Clerk?
Through you, Mayor Evans, it's not currently specifically identified in the proposed bylaw, but it could be added to the list identified that's appearing on the screen right now, 6.3 under road allowances.
Okay. I think the Councillor Burnell is amenable to it being included. And then limit per property, sign number per property. Councillor Wama, I believe, what was the exact number?
I was going for one sign per candidate. And if you have two roadways, if you're, so say for instance, you're on a corner, you would be allowed, so it's per roadway, not per property.
Okay. For your consideration?
Yes, so I have another, I can word it from the Township of Essa bylaw, actually. It says the number of election signs per candidate or registered third party permitted to be placed on private property or in front of a private property is limited to the number of street lines abutting the private property. Therefore, if it's one street, one sign per candidate, and if it's two streets that they're abut to, that's two signs.
I believe that's what
Yeah, exactly.
Councillor Wama said.
Yeah,
So okay,
yeah, so
okay, good. So we've accepted two.
Yep.
We're still discussing the height of signs on private property. I don't know if you get higher than 7 or 8 feet. I think it's blowing away, but I've never seen a sign that high before. But so I'm fine with leaving it off. It's whatever, you know. We have to be realistic too. We're putting an awful lot of rules here, and you know, I know we're trying to foresee every eventuality or possibility, but we're also putting a lot of stress on our bylaw department to come up with this. And you know, so I know I appreciate everybody trying to narrow or see everything in the future, but if something to me doesn't, the height of actual sign on the property, I really don't care. So I think we're okay on that one.
To remove, so the way it reads, with the exception for the height, for the exception being the sign that is located on private property, so you're okay with that? Yeah.
Any further discussion? Any items anybody issue with?
Your Worship, if I may.
Please, Councillor Wallman.
Okay. I'm fine with leaving the height exclusion for private property. I agree. I guess at the end of the day, there is a very real change happening here. I wanted to make sure that something was in place. I go back to the reason why I brought this forward, nothing to do with the aesthetics or clutter. It was part of a larger discussion in trying to increase accessibility and affordability to a different demographic of candidates, particularly younger individuals. So 300 is also very high, but at least there's a cap component to that, and that's the part that I wanted to see. So I am happy with the amendments listed there.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm fully in favor of having a formalized bylaw, and we put a lot of effort into this and started in 1925, and in 2025. And I agree with you, like the idea that, you know, you want to be able to allow people to get in and not be influenced by the amount of signs that there are. Councillor Burnell, you had the numbers from what we spent on last election, all of us. And I don't think anybody, given the amount of money they had, what were signs, about $6 each? We all bought them from, you know, and, you know, nobody would have had 300 signs anyways. So, you know, and there were a lot of signs. So, you know, I'm fine with it. Whatever. Councillor Loca?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship, through you. Yeah, you're exactly right, Your Worship. I mean, we were all newbies as far as the four of us here on council when we put our names forth And I didn't even have 200 signs spread throughout the township. And I think we do need a bylaw of some sort. And my biggest concern has always been safety. And then you get into, who knows how many candidates we're going to have this year. We had 15 last year. We could have 30, 40. This isn't Tay Township where everybody gets acclaimed. This is tiny where it's an active candidate considerations. So I would like to cap the election signs on municipal public property at 300. I don't know anybody that would normally want to pay to exceed that. But, I think we need a formal bylaw that would establish that. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Brunel.
Yeah, so as long as the limit of election signs of 300 is on public property, I think most people would be okay with that. This year, mentioning the amount of candidates that might be participating would be a once in a blue moon event. So I don't want to come up with a bylaw that is going to take care of a once in a blue moon event. But 300 signs, election signs on a public property, I think would be fine. Did not mention anything about the time constraint starting on nomination day, which would be about 60 days, give or take a few days. Last time we talked about this on April 1st, I mentioned 100 because right now it's 150 days. We're going to 45, and now we're going to 60 is better than 45, but still pretty far away from 150. I did not deal with that. 60 days is pretty well average for most elections, so I'm okay with 60 days. But again, if it's up to discussion, if anybody else wants to deal with that.
Are you proposing this as part of your amendment, or you just leave your amendment?
No, it wasn't.
Okay. Does anybody have any further discussion on the amendment? We're going to vote on it, but Madam Clerk?
Sorry to interrupt, Mayor.
Yeah.
Can I just confirm? I'll share my screen.
Please do. Yes.
That I've captured everything correctly. So I've added. Based on the conversation, I think I captured what council is looking for. So you'll see when my screen shows up there for you. No, it should work. Let me just try that again. There's a bit of delay. I'll talk until it shows up there. I think there might just be a little bit of a delay. Recognizing the signs per property conversation, I've added the number of election signs per candidate or registered third party permitted to be placed on private property or in front of private property is limited to the number of street lines abutting the private property. Does that accurately capture what council was seeking?
I believe so.
Can you repeat the beginning of that, please?
Of course. The number of election signs per candidate or registered third party permitted to be placed on private property.
Great, thank you.
So does that capture?
That?
It's not working. No, it's per street. And then the second item added under the road allowances portion of the amendment is no person shall erect, cause, or permit to be erected an election sign on a road allowance if the sign or any portion of the sign is on a road allowance adjacent to parks. So that's recognizing the proximity to our parks.
So that's a 6 bullet point to the other 5 that were there.
That's correct.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
Can I just confirm, was there, I heard conversations, but I apologize, I was typing. With respect to 300 signs, was that in the original motion, Councillor Brunel presented, it was to delete that section of the bylaw? Is that still?
Yep, once we deleted it.
Is that still?
300 as a, for the public, yeah.
On public property.
Okay.
So we want to keep it in there, just add
Private.
on public property.
Yeah.
Okay, so we will maintain the provision of 300 election signs per candidate or third-party advertiser on public property.
Yes. It'd be hard to enforce that bylaw. Like, I guess someone's got to go count around, make sure there's not more than 300, but it's, I'm okay with 300.
It's at the end of the bylaw, you have to do it. And yeah, I think we took out the height, so.
Sorry, Mayor.
Sorry,
Evans.
yeah, no, please take your time. No, I know, and then I'm gonna unfortunately make you incorporate that into the bylaw section.
That's okay. So with respect to the height item that was originally presented, which is the addition of, with the exception of being a sign that is located on private property under 5.2.2, did you want that section of the amendment removed, or?
That's correct, yeah.
That was the amendment?
So like I said, well, again, we'll have to vote on this one because I want to keep that exception on the signs on private property to have no limit, or we can maybe raise the limit if, okay, but it's up to the private property owner, like, or do we have a sign bylaw that restricts the height of any signs on private property? If we do, that restricts the height of any signs on private property, an existing sign bylaw, then we should go according to what that sign bylaw says.
So I'm sorry.
Which we're going to be, which
I don't
we're
have
going
it
to
in
do.
front of me, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, we're going to be dealing with it actually at the committee of the whole.
Okay. Well, we're going to have to deal with it now.
Yeah.
Can you bring it up? Sorry? Oh, okay. Director Hunt, please, if you could, that'd be great. Sorry.
Yeah, through the chair. So the existing sign bylaw and the amendments that are proposed today do not have any height restrictions apart from real estate signs that are defined, and as well as temporary signs that are located on public property. So no other signs are regulated at this time in the township. Okay, great. Well, it'd be great if we could align with that. Councillor?
To align with it, meaning that there's no restrictions on private property. The height of a sign on private property is no restriction. So we want to keep the amended the amendment to the proposed bylaw stays the way it is for the height. Okay, with the exception on private property. Okay, right?
That's what we discussed as far as I'm aware. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, it should be aligned, right? So. Okay, good.
Yeah. I think we read the motion.
So we have to vote on the amendment, and unfortunately, you have to print it off.
I was just going to say, just give me one moment. I'll print it for everyone.
Yeah, well, that'd be great. Thanks. Earning your money today. Okay, motion, which I'll read in a moment, was moved by Councillor Brunel. Seconded by Councillor Woma. And this is an amending motion with regards to this motion, the clerk's report CR-005-26 regarding a proposed new election sign bylaw 26-018 be received and the proposed bylaw 26019 be amended to add the following definitions. These are: nomination day means for a regular election is the third Friday in August in the year of the election. Road allowance means the portion of the land allowed for a road or highway established by any statute, act, bylaw, or plan. Roadway means the part of a street that is improved, designed, or ordinarily used for vehicular traffic and includes a shoulder. Street means a highway, road allowance, street, avenue, parkway, driveway, lane, square, place, bridge, viaduct, trestle, or any other public way under the jurisdiction of the Township of Tiny, and this includes all road works and appurtenant to municipal land. Let me see that word in a while. And the proposed bylaw 26-019 be amended to delete roads and road allowances from the definition of public property, and that proposed bylaw 26-019 be amended to add the following additions in bold. 5.2.2 exceed a height of 1.5 meters or 5 feet when measured from the grade to the highest point of the election sign, with the exception being a sign that is located on private property. 5.2.3 being painted on surfaces such as rocks, sidewalks, roads, buildings, or other infrastructure, with the exception of a sign that is located on private property. 6.2, the number of election signs per candidate or registered third party permitted to be placed on a private property or a front of private property is limited to the number of street lines abutting the private property. 6.3, road allowance. 2 parts. First part A, no person shall erect, cause, or permit to be erected an election sign on a road allowance if the sign or other portion thereof is on or over the street or sidewalk, closer than 1 meter to the edge of the roadway, within a sight triangle at the intersection of 2 roadways, where a road allowance includes a sidewalk adjacent to a street on the portion of the road allowance between the sidewalk and the street, where a road allowance includes 2 or more separate roadways on the portion of the road allowance between each roadway, and on a road allowance adjacent to parks. And B, no person shall at any time nail or otherwise attach an election sign or cause an election sign to be nailed or otherwise attached to or upon anything located on a road allowance, and this shall include utility pole, light pole, utility box, tree planter, bench, waste receptacle, newspaper box, or mailbox. And one more, and the proposed bylaw 26-019 be amended to delete the following. Text to delete, first text is 6.1, no candidate or third-party advertiser shall erect more than 300 election signs on road allowances or any public property. That to be deleted. And then 6.3, no person shall erect an election sign or any public property, including but not limited to parks, roadways, and the deleted portion will be road allowances, and then municipal buildings or facilities. This includes voting locations, community centers, and any other municipally owned lands or structures. Comments or questions before we vote?
Your Worship?
The 300 signs component, are we deleting that?
That is being deleted, yes.
That's why.
6.1.
So I'd like to hear from Councilwoman.
No, I show the meeting. So hold on a sec. No, but you're asking about 6.1.
Yes.
That portion, no candidate or third-party advertiser shall elect more than 300 election signs on road allowances or public property. That's being deleted. I'm sorry, it's in red and black. So
Yeah, so I thought we were going to add that. or amend that.
You're correct, through you, Mayor Evans.
Is there another portion of this?
That's a typo on my part. I apologize. Just give me 2 seconds and I can correct it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay. Having read the majority of the amendment, I won't read the whole thing again, but I will read the relevant passage. That is, and that proposed bylaw 26-019 be amended to insert the following. That being, no candidate or third-party advertiser shall erect more than 300 election signs on, and the addition is road allowances or any public property. So 300, maximum of 300 election signs on
public property.
On road allowance or any public property.
Now, okay, just a minute there. So it reads, okay. So on 6.3b, sorry, not that one.
6.1 we're talking.
No person shall erect, cause, or permit to be erected on the road allowance if the sign of any portion thereof is closer than 1 meter to the edge of the roadway. So by saying that only 300 signs on road allowances, are we saying that you can't put that even if it's 1 meter away from the edge of the roadway, that you can't put it on that road allowance? But no, what I'm saying is that no, we're allowed to put signs on the road allowance if it's 1 meter away from a roadway. So I wanted the last 3 words of that of the addition is incorrect. On public property, period. Because they're going to be allowed on road allowances, as many as you want. But on public property, so there's a distinction here, on all public property, only 300, except for the road allowances that are closer, that are further than 1 meter to the edge of the roadway.
Okay, the confusion here is that there's road allowances is quoted in multiple sections of this. There we go, so I gotta go through them all. Yes, under 6.3, we've got closer than 1 meter to the edge of the roadway, which I understand, right? You don't want it on the road.
But it's still a road allowance.
It's still a road allowance, yeah. And then no person shall erect an election sign on any public property, including, but not limited to, parks, roadways, and road allowances, municipal buildings or facilities. So yeah, we're saying in one part you can, and the other part you can't.
So, no candidate shall erect more than 300 election signs on public property.
I'm in favor of that. It's fine. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
The clerk has something to say.
Madam Clerk?
Through you, Mayor Evans, just to provide some clarification, as defined in the bylaw, public property would be municipal facilities and parks and those types of public property.
Okay.
Public property, as defined in the bylaw, does not include road allowances and public property of that nature. So that would be why this is worded the way it is. So this the 300 limit would be for all road allowances, and then the other piece of the road allowance portion that was included in the amendment just speaks to the restrictions on the location within that road allowance. So you're allowed to have 300 on those road allowances with those restrictions, for example, the 1 meter.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So
But the bylaw does not permit any signs on what is defined as public property, which is, for example, the property of the municipal office.
Okay.
Thank you very much for the clarification.
Okay, so we're agreed that in this case we'll leave that in?
Yes.
Okay, good. Civil. Okay, so just to clarify that the proposed bylaw 26-019 be amended to insert the following. That following is no candidate or third-party advertiser shall erect more than 300 election signs on road allowances or any public property. All those in favor? Thank you very much. Carries unanimously.
For Simcoe Community Media, I am Deepak Bidwai. This story was supported by the Local Journalism Initiative.